G'day, Bitcoin. What an amazing day. Bitcoin has made it to the highest point on planet Earth. And then, of course, Bitcoin has dropped. The United States, though, they've passed some really incredibly interesting legislation for Bitcoin and garbage, and also against the CBDCs. Arthur Hayes, pretty interesting, believes Japan may push Bitcoin over $1 million. At the same time, we are seeing China dumping treasuries. I have got the co-host Rory Saylor on the show today. Before we get onto that, let's just start off with Bitcoin at the top of the world. This is absolutely amazing. Dadvan Yusuf on the roof of the world with Bitcoin. On Monday, May 20th, 2024, at 2:50, I reached the summit of Mount Everest and hoisted the Bitcoin flag. Now, this is incredible. It's a symbol of freedom and independence, even in the highest place on Earth. Simultaneously with Bitcoin reaching new all-time highs, the flags have landed at all-time high. How incredible is that? What are your thoughts?
Mate, any sort of advertising for Bitcoin is good advertising.
Man, I ever since I was a kid, I always dreamed a climb in Everest. It's still on the bucket list there to be able to do it. But I guess what I think about then, we're going to dive into CBDCs and a tick here, and then the really bullish legislation that just passed. But Bitcoiners always put in the proof of work. Like climbing Mount Everest is obviously not an easy fate. To do that and to throw in a little bit extra weight where they're already probably carrying enough to take the signal to the top of the world. Like, I just love Bitcoiners for that fact. Nobody's paid to promote Bitcoin or anything like that. And Bitcoiners are just like, no, like we need to do this. We need to do it for ourselves. We need to do it for the community, for the movement. So shout out, I guess, to every Bitcoiner out there putting in the proof of work. I've got a video to play about this we'll get into, but just really quickly, the US House passed a bill to ban the Federal Reserve from creating a CBDC, which is a digital currency, a central bank digital currency. Now, I think this, I think everyone will get a little bit of a kick about this, and we'll get a couple more points after this with Japan and China all tied all together. But Mr. Sherman.
It creates a competitor to the US dollar, which has one advantage. It's right in the name, hidden money. Hide your money from the IRS, from our sanctions enforcers, from everyone involved in the U.S. government. And then finally, crypto declares that it wants to partially displace the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. If it's successful in that,
it will 30 additional seconds.
The gentleman's recognized.
You have to understand how important it is. We, frankly, are not fiscally responsible in this house. We don't collect near as much taxes as we spend in benefits. We're able to do that without too much harm, because of the role of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. We have fiscal policies that would make Argentina blush, but we're able to do it. The crypto bros see the incredible amount of money and power the U.S. government has by being the world's reserve currency, and they say no, they want to appropriate them from themselves.
Do you reckon that's true? We see the power of the Federal Reserve. So Bitcoiners want to appropriate the power of the Federal Reserve itself. We want to be the world's reserve banking system. I'm not sure how this makes any sense in reality. The Federal Reserve's gone out there and put massive amounts of control over the world population, not just in the US. I think like that's the furthest thing from the truth. I don't think we want any power. We don't want to be able to print any money. We just want, like, we've just all rallied around Bitcoin, which just works. Like, we could leave it alone, you know, for the next 1,000 years, and it's just going to be TikTok, next block, no human intervention, really. And it's really amazing. And to have the audacity to be able to say we've got huge power, basically because we can print money. Argentina would think we're irresponsible. Like they're saying the quiet part out loud and they're still making Bitcoiners seem like bad people. You got any thoughts, Rory?
We're the worst, actually. We're the worst. No, it's I look at it like all we want to implement is just a rules-based monetary policy. That's all we're backing, and nobody can change the rules unless majority agree to change the rules. Whereas it's not run like that, where there's a board that decides how much money gets printed, how it gets used.
Yep. Currently, we've got this lady, I believe her name's Judy, and I think like 13 Federal Reserve governors like voted against her, like put out statements saying, please don't accept this lady's nomination. And then like you start to see her tweets and she's talking all about sound money and stuff. You're like, wow, that sort of makes a little bit of sense. But there's a little bit of hope there. We're going to get into that really shortly. Arthur Hayes talking about Bitcoin going to 1 million with Japan playing out, as well as China selling a huge amount of treasuries. But this is the price today, ladies and gentlemen. We are at 67,197 in the last 24 hours. You see here, like, really small dips at the moment, $3,060 price movement. We're at a low of 66,940 with the high of 70,000. I don't know if I don't really think about the price all too much, but what I've noticed, Rory, is these movements, it's really just sort of sticking between, 65 or really 66 and 70,000, sort of touch 71,000. But the 66 to 70,000 range, like we're really consolidating here. We're building up a whole lot of support. That may go below, a little above for a little while. But if we can get like a solid foundation here, I think that's an incredible launch pad. I guess the message that I'd urge everyone to do is make the most of these red days. We'll, I'll give you another reason why. Like, this is my most important number here, but for every $1, you get 1,481 Satoshis. Over time, like for the rest of your lives, for anyone, no matter how old you are, unless you're going to pass in the next couple of years, Bitcoin is going to continue to go up forever. So that Satoshi number is going to continue to go down forever. So whatever you can get this day, this year is probably more sats per dollar than you're going to get, for the rest of human history, would be my fairly educated guess. 6:39 a.m. Tesla's numbers, the universe, we are look at 844,081. If I could do a major big ask, if you can smash the like button, hit subscribe if we vibe, greatly appreciate. And please just buy, stack, and chill. Bitcoin doesn't need to be complicated. It's just the world's best savings technology, freedom technology. I'm really looking forward to it. But Rory, what are your thoughts on the price? Do you want it to pump at the minute, or like how are you like seriously thinking about the price in the next couple of months going out?
I just want it to go down as much as possible so I can stack more. That's all I care about, because I don't see this disappearing anytime soon, and I won't be selling it ever. I'll be borrowing against it when the time comes. So yeah, I just want to accumulate as much as possible. And I actually hate how it's going up so much, because it means I don't get as much. I can't exchange fiat for as much hard money as I would like. But in saying that, I still buy, stack, and chill. Yeah.
Hey, it's amazing. Like the price goes up, I'm like, oh, cool. Like that's good. I'm still going to buy, stack, and chill as well. But when it goes down, I'm like, this is such a great day. And it's taken me so long. And I was talking to a friend last night on the phone. I've one more aside from you, Rory. So my other friends. And
I didn't know you had so much money.
Oh, they're expensive friends, but fiat's worthless, so it's all good. In regards to that, thanks for the distraction this morning. He's like, but like, what happens when I drop it? When it drops, I'm like, well, I'll buy more, and I really look forward to those days. And it took me like a little while to psychologically love red days, like when you you see in fiat terms, it's dropped substantially. You're like, oh, you're like, okay, like actually this is an opportunity. I think anyone that gets into the space and they just buy stack and chill upside, downside, and sideways, I think the red becomes your friend. And I think there's going to be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 up down days, and probably better to get used to it now before it gets too crazy. Before we get into $1 million prize prediction, Arthur Hayes, what's going on? We'll cover Fit 21, which happened yesterday, which seems a massive. If you've got Bitcoin on exchange, you need help in any way with your Bitcoin self-custody. The Bitcoin way, they're freaking incredible. The first 30 minutes is free. You can talk to them. You can find out if you've got any flaws in your Bitcoin security model. Make sure you're using an air-gap wallet, running a node, being self-sovereign. They can help you out with inheritance, of planning, multi-sig, safety moves, endorses them. So does Natalie Brunel. Seriously, if you need help and you got Bitcoin on exchange, please reach out to them. Like, this is freedom technology. If you hold it and you take control of it, this regulation that's come out, it does say some good things in regards to holding your Bitcoin in self-custody as well, which I think is pretty amazing. But if anyone needs any help, link top of the description. First 30 minutes is free. So people will not hear that, but I can hear that. Now, this was so surprising, and this is absolutely incredible, actually. I think everyone in the States should be celebrating. It feels like over here we're going the exact wrong direction. We obviously got the digital IDs bill passed last week, which leads to CBDCs. But what this gentleman has to say here, well done, America. Absolutely well done. Your economic landscape regulation, like, I understand Bitcoin's outside the system. I get all that. And we don't need them. They need us. But that's a little cup. That's shrinkflation. That's hardcore going on there. Aside from that, bringing it back, having this regulation, like, that gives me hope that everywhere around the world may stand up to this nonsense that's mainly going on by the World Economic Forum. Anyway, to understand what I'm talking about, just incredibly well done on this.
Today, we are considering Majority Whip Tom Emmer's H.R. 5403, the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act. This bill is straightforward. It halts unelected bureaucrats from issuing a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. We believe that a central bank digital currency would be detrimental to Americans' rights to financial privacy. We've previously seen examples of the government and governments around the world weaponizing the financial system against their own citizens. For example, the Chinese Communist Party used a central bank digital currency to track spending habits of its citizens. This data is being used to create a social credit system that rewards or punishes people based on their behavior. This type of financial surveillance has no place in the United States. After all, we have the Bill of Rights, and they do not. Concerningly, it appears that the current administration does not agree that financial surveillance has no place in the United States. In 2022, the White House issued an executive order pushing for CBDC research and development. The corresponding report and the data of related to the executive order the president issued it does nothing to ease the concerns about financial snooping on citizens. This is why the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act is necessary. The bill requires authorizing legislation from Congress for the issuance of any central bank digital currency, ensuring that it must reflect American values and civil liberties protections. If not open, permissionless, and private, a central bank digital currency is no more than a CCP style surveillance tool waiting to be weaponized. I want to thank my friend Whip Emmer for his work on spearheading this legislation, along with Representatives Hill and Mooney for their leadership on this issue. I'd also like to thank Representative Davidson for his commitment to financial privacy in a larger context.
All right, I've definitely got a couple of thoughts about that. Well done on that, and hopefully they don't go in a roundabout way and push through or force through a CBDC in whatever way that they can do. You know, if this is laid out very clear, they may try find other options. But if they do manage to keep a CBDC out of the United States, like, that's amazing. They are the worst thing in the world. Obviously, we saw the Shermanator earlier gunning down Bitcoin, saying that we're all these crazy psycho people that want world domination. I believe that's because that's their framework when they are thinking in that the fiat slave funny money system. They think everything's like that, where they fundamentally don't understand Bitcoin. But having no CBDCs like that, that's hope for humanity. I think, you know, on the other side, CBDCs are literally the worst thing. He relates it to the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, there as well. It's not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. Like, CBDCs, if they come, maybe they're not as bad straight away. Maybe they're never as bad as they could potentially be. But why build a tool that has that capability if they never intend to use it? Even if it's 5, 10, 15 years down the track. Obviously, Rory, we're moving towards CBDCs, I think, by the end of the year here in Australia, early next year. Unfortunately, we're leading the world in CBDC research after the CCP, which is scary. Do you care about CBDCs? Obviously, like, we can opt out, you can buy Bitcoin, but I don't know. I guess in regards to that law being passed, the regulations framework being passed over in the States, and then what's happening here?
Well, we can only buy Bitcoin at the moment until the on-ramps get closed, and then we have to go and search out and find people who will exchange peer-to-peer. So at the moment, we don't have to worry. If a central bank digital currency comes in, yeah, we may have to move, which isn't going to be too big of a deal either, because I don't mind traveling. I would like to wait until my dog isn't around anymore, so that way I don't have to have any sort of ties. Family's different story, but yeah, if it all turns upside down like that, yeah, hopefully I've opted out enough where I can expat and start up somewhere else, which is what Bitcoin gives us the freedom to do.
What I really hope to see out of this is Australia pay attention to what the state's doing. We're part of the Five Eyes, the massive surveillance state, with partners with the US as well. So maybe people may pay attention to this. Hopefully, like the general public, like, it really needs to be a grassroots movement. People here, they don't care. Digital IDs, they're going to make things easier. Sure. Yep. Convenience. You know, and that's how
only when your phone's got charge.
Yeah. Well, like, what happens in that situation? I guess everything's biometric anyway, so the cops can come up, scan your face like they do over in China anyway, you know, and pull you out of a restaurant for whatever arbitrary reason. Not fiction. That's a fact that is happening. We are seeing many videos like that out there. Statistically, not unlikely. Do the right thing, I'm sure you're fine. But what's the right thing by their rules? And then when they control the CBDCs, but we saw ANZ go down the other day. They reckon they had technology problems as well. You know, we're being warned about all these cybersecurity attacks. The cybersecurity attacks, like, I don't know if there's going to be one major big one, or they're just going to keep having all these little ones. But being in a technological age, there are going to be times when services, good intention, bad intention, like, even if they have the best intentions, are going to get disrupted. As these get disrupted, everyone's like strapped. They have no other option to be able to interact, live, or whatever. Like, we had a $125 billion pension fund. Google just deleted it. Like what? Lucky is backed up on a totally different internet service provider, but I bet everyone's not like that. So what do? Just hit a button, turn it off, and then what? Like, what other options do people have? Obviously, there's Bitcoin, but the psyop around Bitcoin pushes people so far away from it, and it's just like it is the solution. But when we see people like Sherman saying it's the problem, we're all crazy. I still think we've got a lot of work to do. However, that work is starting to pay off. The US House approves FIT 21. We're going to dive into China and Japan shortly, $1 million price, but this is really interesting. I don't understand it fully yet. Came out yesterday afternoon. More so, well, this came out this morning at 5:45, this article, but Mark Moss done a pretty good summary, so we'll dive into that. But the talking points: the US House approves crypto FIT 21 bill with wave of Democratic support. So it's a good start. The House passage of the digital asset legislation passes the crypto baton to the Senate, where odds remain low for decisive action. The US House vote 279 to 136, so it's pretty bloody good, to approve the FIT 21 Act with a very strong showing from House Democrats. Now, the passage of the Crypto Market Structure Bill marks the industry's most significant legislative accomplishment in Congress. A couple of interesting points. Crypto industry recorded its biggest ever US policy win on Wednesday when the House of Representatives approved a wide-reaching bill to establish regulations for digital asset markets, recording a 279-136 vote that saw Democrats crossing party lines to support it. FIT 21 marks the first time major crypto bill has cleared one of the chambers of Congress. I guess the most important issue now heads to the US Senate, where its future is much murkier because there's no counterpart bill. Support for an effort remains unclear there, and the necessary committees haven't done the same level of work on crypto. We'll come back to that one, but I want to share Mark Moss. He's a very deep, clear, articulate thinker with Bitcoin. One of my favorite thinkers in Bitcoin. Many, including myself, seem to think the attack vector on Bitcoin is to go after self-custody, but what does the new FIT 21 Act have to say? Self-custody of Bitcoin, is literally the most important thing about Bitcoin. It has to be off the exchange. You have to have your keys. Your keys need to be on steel minimum. There's I'll just bring this up really quickly. I'll go full screen. There's the Rolls Royce of Bitcoin, which is CDOR. It comes with everything. I'm pretty sure there's a discount code in the description, but whatever it is, put it on steel, get it off paper, be sovereign. And it looks like they're going to allow you to do that, which is great because you actually need to be able to do that to be able to stay a free individual. And even if you're not allowed to do it, just do it. It's insanity not to, but do it while you still can. And it looks like they're putting in provisions that they'll let you do it. So details laid out in 471.63 Financial Innovation Technology FIT 21 Self-Custody Maintenance section. Protection assurance. This section explicitly prevents FinCEN from issuing any rule or order that would prohibit U.S. individuals from maintaining hardware or software wallets. This means you can securely store your digital assets without fear of new regulations. So freedom to transact ensures that individuals can freely conduct transactions with their digital assets for any lawful purpose. So far, so good. Enforcement action clause, balanced enforcement while protecting self-custody. This provision clarifies that it does not limit FinCEN's ability to carry out enforcement actions against illegal activities. Of course, they're not going to give over all their power. It balances the right to self-custody with the need for regulatory oversight to prevent fraud and other lawful activities. I wonder if they're going to allow you to send it to a cold wallet without marking that wallet as yours without providing KYC data. I guess that's one thing to keep in mind. And we are already sort of starting to see that. Like Gemini did it. I think Coinbase has done it as well. The other day when I was moving a bit of funds into deep cold storage or off the exchange into cold storage, and there's a large chunk, they called me up. They're like, where is this going? Why is it going to different addresses? Because it gets a new address each time. It's they want to know where it's going and why it's being moved as well. Like that's not going to slow down. But once you've got in self-custody, like you got it in self-custody.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, like on Monday.
Who rang you up?
The exchange.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So like what happened is I moved like a tiny bit, you know, it's a couple of $100 worth or whatever. And it worked. It was great. So then I went to move like a fair amount of Satoshis all at once. And they called me up. Or first they like made it pending. And then so like I got onto the chat message thing, you know, like the live chat. And then they gave me a call and they're like, why are you moving this? Where are you moving it to? Putting it into self-custody. And then after that, they're like, what address is this going to? I'm like, the one I submitted. And then I've got another transaction to do. And they're like, is that going to the same address? I said, no, it won't be. It'll be going, why isn't it going to the same address? Because my wallet creates different addresses each time I receive. And she's like really nice and stuff. You know, she's just doing her job. And unfortunately, like, that was the process to get that there. There's better exchanges out there. There's a particular reason. There's a fair amount. I needed to do it all at once. And she was nice, like nothing against her or whatever. They've just got these freaking regulations, man, that just want all the information. It's like when you go into the bank or Commonwealth Bank here. You have exceeded your monthly purchase of like Bitcoin, or they say cryptocurrency, digital assets. You're like, what? Like, who are you to dictate that I can only spend $10,000 a month? Like, whatever the number is, even if it's $10 million a month, like, who are they to do that? Like, by law, they're allowed to. Once we give them dirty fiat, like it's their money, and we just hope to get it back. But I do see like that spillover effect into the Bitcoin space, and it can either go one or two ways. Like they either relax a little bit, probably don't see that happening, or they get much worse, which, you know, I do see happening. But I think we've got this moment now where it's like super easy. Yes, phone call like is a bit of a bastard, but so what? You know, like I can get through that if I'm going to get my Bitcoin into self-custody. I couldn't really care what they do. And there's things that you can do afterwards once it's, you know, in your control.
What sucks about that is I'm pretty sure I know what exchange that is. I've got a friend that works at that particular one. What I find funny is you have to say, yeah, no, it's mine. I control that. I on the other hand would be like, oh no, it's going to a friend of mine. No, I don't know where that address is going, but I wanted to go to that address. Who controls it? Couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
that would be. What are you buying? Cocaine and hookers.
Yeah. I wonder if I said that, if they would have allowed me to. Like,
they may have paused it.
It's a fairly, like with that stack, I wouldn't have wanted to play around, but maybe it was something that's just over their threshold.
A billion Satoshis is a big UTXO, man. I know the feeling.
Yeah, 21 million Bitcoin just straight in the cold storage. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's gone. But maybe just over their limit, it'd be worth pushing back and seeing what you can get away with, like what they're really looking for. You know, like maybe they just need to write down words like the bank does, and we see that over and over again. What I'm going to do for everyone is repost that Mark Moss. He continues to keep going with it. Real quick shout out, read the books or eat the bugs. Parallel, it's actually an epic book. Rory, have you read it yet?
Nope.
Man,
no, I haven't read it yet.
It's actually a really bloody good book. Either buy a copy or I'll send you a copy. It's incredible. Anyway, Brian's given away 15,000 Satoshis as well. So well worth jumping on there and following Brian's email. I've reposted as well. But actually read the book. Like, it's an incredible book. I think like the first book that Bitcoiners should read is something like Beers for Bitcoin or Bitcoin Evangelism. Get the like, what is Bitcoin? And then the book that parallels like the why of Bitcoin. And then after that, dive into like the Bitcoin standard, fiat standard, broken money, and every other book out there. But it's read the books for Rory. Come on, man.
I've read the books. And I choose to eat the bugs. quite partial, creepy crawly.
Yeah, Rory's always sent me photos of like I buy jerky, and you know, you get it, and then Rory buys like bags of bugs, and he just eats them like jerky. Loves it. True story. He sends me photos of packets of bugs, but I don't think he eats them. Simon is saying we'll be ordering this weekend as well. That book, I thought you would like this. I have about 10 books in my Amazon account, and half are Bitcoin. Absolute legend. Mario Nafal as well. He's the the news guy. And shout out to anyone that is watching on X as well. We are live on both YouTube and X, and maybe it's been pushed to Rumble this morning. G'day. Hopefully you're all having a glorious day. Mario, the news guy, he's talking about the crypto regulation. He sums it up a little bit quicker. FIT 21 marks a significant legislative milestone for the cryptocurrency regulation. Legislation aims to establish a framework for the digital assets, positioning the Commodity Futures Trading Commission as primary regulator for non-security crypto markets, define the criteria for distinguishing between securities and commodities. Despite the success in the House, the Senate remains uncertain. Critics include Gary Gensler, of course, Maxine Waters, have voiced concern the bill may undermine existing security law and rewarded crypto businesses that previously skirted these regulations. So we'll see. Like with everything, nothing's done until it's done, in the words of Michael Dunworth, the guy that puts in insane amounts of Bitcoin proof of work. But we'll see. It's favorable. Standard Charter, they expect a new all-time high by this weekend. We'll see. Before we get into, I'm not sure if I shared that tab. Anyway, that's Standard Charter saying one new all-time high this weekend. Do you know OPD's X account so I can follow him on there? Yes, I do. I'll tweet it out after this. OPD was on yesterday, but I'll play this really quickly. Oh. This Bidenomics out in New York as well. Somebody is just trolling. Pretty cool van, nonetheless. But we're going to see more and more of that. I won't go into a shill. Let's dive into this really, really quickly. So China ramps up de-dollarization efforts by dumping a record amount of US bonds. They sold $53.3 billion worth of treasuries and agency bonds in the first quarter. Previously unloaded US debt to prop up its yuan has again grown weak against the rallying dollar. Country they're piling into gold as well. Now makes up the highest share of its reserves since 2015. Record volume unloaded there. That above already eye-catching volume, China was offline last year. Although one estimate has calculated the country has sold 300 billion US treasuries between 21 mid-23. China's selling grew to the point that markets worried about higher yields. Last year, China was already discarding US debt to prop up the yuan, giving considerable declines against the dollar. This could again be the case as the greenback has rallied heavily on hawkish US monetary policy. Most recently, Biden administration announced tariffs on a slew of advanced Chinese products, targeting everything from electric vehicles to batteries. Not sure how that helps everyone with, it's good to have everything made in your country. That is going to cost a whole lot more until the robots make it for you, maybe, and they stop printing money. And before President Donald Trump wins back to the White House in November, he's promised to apply tariffs as high as 60%. on China. So to diversify from the dollar, Beijing is also driving harder into purchasing gold. Now the metals market makes up 4.9%. I do wonder if they're going to start adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. I don't know. Maybe not for a couple of years as well. Like, we're only at a $1.4 trillion market cap, $1.3 trillion market cap. But I do see more and more nation states adding Bitcoin. Anyway, it's a trend followed by the central banks as well, and been snap up bullion at record speeds. And then we see Arthur Hayes is saying a weak yen over in Japan could propel Bitcoin to $1 million. Couple of just real quick things on this one. Arthur Hayes, we've talked about him before, former CEO of BitMEX and current CEO of Maelstrom, has predicted geopolitical and economic dynamics that will be taken to equilibrate. That word's not making sense to me. It doesn't read right. The exchange rate between the US dollar and Japanese yen might propel Bitcoin price to $1 million because the US will be forced to act by printing money and exchanging it for yen. Basically, like, the takeaway is, regardless, they're going to have to print money at some stage. That's like inevitable. They've put themselves so far down into a little box, like they can't stop it. And regardless of whatever time it happens, like, maybe it's on a slower time frame. Australia from 1973 to 2020 printed $1 trillion. The US is printing that every 100 days. Whatever time frame they're printing money on, increasing the debt on, like, it's happening. Sooner or later, Bitcoin is just going to rip up and melt faces. But that's the news with the fast facts. Is a quick banter. I've got somewhere to be in a couple of minutes, and I am urgent to take care of Mother Nature, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to love you and leave you, but please buy, stack, and chill. Hit subscribe if we vibe. It's the news with the fast facts. Bit of a banter on Friday. The Bitcoin Lab, Rory is send the signal. It's a super quick shill here. If you are interested in supporting the channel, you want to just send the signal. Satoshi Nakamoto 2024. I'll bring it up completely full screen. Make Bitcoin great again. This is a little bit of a piss take, a little bit of fun, but thebitcoinlab.io. If you use code GIDAY, capital G, capital D-A-Y, I think it's like 15% off as well. But there's a link in the description there. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, please just pay attention to Bitcoin, get as much Bitcoin as possible, read as many books as possible, and we will see you on Monday. Have a beautiful day. Be blessed.